how's everybody doing? My nation of YouTubians, this is your boy Andy Gamer Chanel, also known as Red Devil 61780 on the PlayStation Network, coming to you with another video, more of a rant. This is just another rant. Yes, this is the rant corner once again, of a concern that I've had over some past couple of days that I started seeing posts, well, not posts, but vlogs. I don't know what they're called on YouTube, to be honest with you, and I don't really care. I'm subscribed to one guy that, a YouTuber that has a channel named No Bullshit. And I like to watch his videos, and, well, I like to watch videos of a lot of people that I'm subscribed to. And in this one in particular, he was calling out another YouTuber who goes by Angry Joe. I'm pretty sure most of you know who Angry Joe is. He is a reviewer of movies and video games, and his antics are usually revolved around how pissed off he is over something that didn't actually come out right, or something that doesn't make sense, or something that wasn't accurate, or something that wasn't well written, or a lot of loopholes, or not loopholes but plot holes and shit. Well, this video that I saw was talking about how Battlefield 5 is a complete failure. Now, if anybody has been following up on the news, well, not news, but on the whole game thing with the Battlefield 5, is that it's doing miserably. That it's losing sales, that it's not getting enough, pre-orders and things like that. And could you blame, anybody for not wanting to buy the game? I mean, seriously. This guy Angry Joe did a review on that particular subject, and in that video, which was days ago or probably a week ago, he actually started calling people conservatives and alt-right. Now, this is actually kind of a I'm not going to say offensive, and I'm not going to say triggered, because those things are only saved for the lefties. But this came off as a very condescending way of saying you guys are a bunch of sexists. He went on from reviewing video games to getting involved in this whole political correctness, identity politics bullshit now. And to be honest with you, I'm getting kind of sick of it. I'm getting sick and bored and tired of all of this, because women this, and because this and this and this, and blah blah blah, lefty lefty lefty. Well, this is directed towards Angry Joe, and I'm gonna educate you on a number of things that you yourself really don't know much about. Now, I saw your last video there, Joe, and you were apologizing in a way, not direct apology, even though you should have said I'm sorry for the things that I've said, but you didn't. More like a my bad. But here's the thing. You see the game that I'm playing? If you ever played it, it's called the Zombie Army Trilogy. It's a game from the Sniper Elite franchise. This game is based on World War II also. But here's the thing. It's fictional. It's not real. Zombies never existed in World War II. As a matter of fact, they don't exist, period. This is a fictional game. And in this game, you can pick the gender. You can pick man or woman. You see? I'm using a woman right now to just show you that I really don't give a shit about gender when it comes to video games. As a matter of fact, Monster Hunter World also has gives you the option to choose the gender of your character, and I chose a female. Why? Because I don't have a problem with females in video games. I really don't. I've still to this day, believe it or not, I'm still looking for Heavenly Sword on the PlayStation 3, and I can't find it. It's one of the games that I really want to get, because come on, the character's hot, But I'm just telling you this so that way you don't see, or you don't accuse me of being a sexist, because you already did that. And as far as females in movies and video games go as protagonists, dude, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't have a problem with any of that. On the contrary, I love the movie of Wonder Woman. I think she did a badass job, despite the fact that, you know, a lot of the DC movies have been getting a bad rep. But I quite enjoyed the Wonder Woman. I have it on Blu-ray. Now, here comes the kicker on why it is people did what they did and said what they said. If you're going to add a female protagonist into a role, both video game and movie, you got to do it right. You got to do it right. You have to give it some justice. Now, let's not forget what happened when they announced the reboot of Ghostbusters. You know, well, they didn't really say it was a reboot in the beginning, but they said that they were making another Ghostbusters movie. That's how they started off as. And the thing about it is, you know, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, hell no. When I saw the leaked pictures, I thought to myself, oh, no, not Melissa McCarthy and Leslie Jones and the other fucking Saturday Night Live cast members. And they're all women. Like, every single one of them is a woman. Here we go. I already knew where this was headed. Here we go with the female, you know, agenda, with the feminist agenda, trying to push themselves on something that, when the movie came out, the fan base was composed of mostly male. Okay? You can go ahead and Google it so you can see for yourself. Now, that movie did terribly. Nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. It was terrible because there was no justice behind how they made it. When the movie came out, I thought to myself, okay, let's give it a chance. Maybe it's one of those passing the torch kind of deals where you see Venkman and Egon and Spangler and Winston. You know, they're just too old to be ghost hunting with proton packs, and they find this group of professionals who are also into the same things as they are, who were probably fans of them and what they've done for New York, and they wanted to be a part of it, and they just passed the torch down saying, like a Danny Glover line in Lethal Weapon, I'm getting too old for this shit. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case in Ghostbusters with that female cast. And I didn't see the movie. I saw the critics and I saw the reviews, and quite frankly, I didn't want to see it ever again. As a matter of fact, I've seen it several times, really cheap, and I don't want to buy it. That just starts to show on how the feminist agenda actually ruins products, or ruins, you know, things like that. And with Battlefield 5. And I'm gonna bring up another thing about that, because why it doesn't make any sense either. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's identity politics and pushing the feminist agenda. This isn't over equality or anything, because quite frankly, there, Joe, after Patrick Sutherland called everybody uneducated, despite the fact that the uneducated one seems to be him, on how he didn't even look up actual historic events and facts of World War II. There were no women in combat in World War II. As a matter of fact, there were no such thing as artificial limbs back in World War II. Or at least not artificial limbs where they were practically bionic arms, the way that they, you know, showed it on the trailer, or the way that it was supposed to work in the campaign, the character, the protagonist. A lot of historical inaccuracies occurred in that game, and you can't do that, Joe. You can't fucking do that. Okay? It's like comparing Saving Private Ryan to Inglourious Bastards. Okay? You being a movie reviewer, also, you should know the difference between Saving Private Ryan, which was actual, you know, actual events based on testimonies, to a fictional story that Quentin Tarantino wrote up for entertainment purposes only. not to teach the world history lessons. It was a fictional screenplay. As we all know, that EA likes to portray a lot of accuracies when it comes to their video games, when it comes to, Battlefield. Not all of them are, accurate when it comes to, history and shit like that, obviously. They do bend reality a little bit. But let's be honest here. Okay? They never said that the game was fictional. But they are basing it off of World War II. Historically speaking there, Joe, when was the last time you ever heard of women involved in combat during World War II? Especially the way that they're portrayed in the game. When was the last time you ever heard of any women involved in combat? I'll tell you when. Never. There were never women involved in combat when it came to the Allied forces fighting the Nazi occupation. Now, I'm going to tell you who was and how. Saying on how I'm so uneducated, I'm going to give you my little, point for point uneducated facts. Number one, nurses. They were the ones working behind the lines, taking care of the wounded. They sacrificed their families to ship over to Europe to look after injured soldiers. I salute those women who were taking care of the wounded. Back in the States during the 1940s, during World War II, we also had women who joined the working class, or the working ranks, or the ranks of the workforce when it came to working in factories for munitions and vehicles, tanks, jeeps, and in some cases even fighter planes. Now keep in mind that when you worked in munitions, you were at high risk. Those things went off, you were dead. I salute those women as well, because not only did they work dangerous jobs in support of the soldiers that were overseas fighting off a fascist regime, which was the Nazi occupation, but because after the day was over working at the factory, they went back home to support their families. They had kids who went to school, and they also had their responsibilities, which was feeding them. So I salute the women that worked in those factories. Last but not least, the other women, the other female, groups that were involved with World War II were freedom fighters in France. They were not in any way officially involved with Allied forces. They were freedom fighters. They used guerrilla-based tactics to fight off the Nazi occupation in France. They were all there to fight, men and women. I salute the women in France who fought off the Nazi occupation in a guerrilla force tactics. Those were the women, Joe, and EA, as well as Patrick Sutherland, who accused everybody of being uneducated, that were involved with World War II. And there was nothing wrong or anything bad to be embarrassed about in the occupations that they held. Now, by me saying that, by me educating you on that, like I said, I have no problem with females in video games. I have no problem with females in movies. I have no problem with females being protagonists. But you have to do it right. They didn't. Now, you are all bitching and complaining about how, oh, it's because people are actually celebrating the failure of EA. Dude, seriously? This coming from a person who said that the Battlefront 2 game was a complete waste, and that EA once again managed to fuck up another franchise. This coming from you, now all of a sudden you're in defense of EA and the choice they made for the theme of Battlefield 5. Now, the sales went down there, Joe, not only because maybe a small amount of people just don't like women in video games, I'm not defending anybody else other than the ones that didn't buy the game because it was historically inaccurate, or because it was EA insulting us. And they did when Patrick Sutherland, the piece of shit, after saying that these people are uneducated, also said, either accept it or don't buy the game. I'm fine either way. In other words, it's like, you don't like it, go fuck yourself. In other words, he's dealing in absolutes. In other words, you agree with him, you're okay. If you don't agree with him, you're a piece of shit. That's dealing in absolutes there, Joe. Not even trying to listen to the other half of the story. Not even trying to understand why it is people protested the game in the first place. He just did what he did because he wanted to, and he wanted to belong. He wanted to be part of the bandwagon of the whole identity politics bullshit that's been happening lately, which is actually getting really tired and boring. It's worn out. Okay? Like a pair of underwear. Okay? It went down by 10%. Sales for pre-orders and everything went down by 10%. Now you say that it's over a whole bunch of other game titles that are going to be coming out during the fall season. But here's the thing, Joe. Don't come off as some sort of last Jedi liberal leftist dumbass. It's because people didn't watch The Last Jedi. The sales didn't go up so much on The Last Jedi because of Star Wars exhaustion. Bullshit, buddy. Bullshit. It's not that. It's got nothing to do with that. There's lots of people who don't have responsibilities that'll spend a buttload of money on not just one game but several. So it's got absolutely nothing to do with that, okay? It's got nothing to do with video game exhaustion or with, it's just there's too many titles coming out this fall. And even if it were the case here, Joe, they're within their right to release a game at the same time that another game's coming out because, that's capitalism, and it also requires being a little competitive, There's a lot of competitiveness when it comes to products such as video games, movies, and a whole bunch of other goods. So that argument is a complete waste, and it's stupid. Now, another thing that I would like to mention on how stupid Battlefield 5 is even though we're in the beta right now, and by we I mean everybody else, I don't intend to play it at all. Like I said, I don't want to ever play the game for a lot of reasons, not just because there's women in the game. But also the profanity filter. Now, are you serious? There's a profanity filter and an M-rated game? Since when did adults become so sensitive? Oh, but that's right. Yeah, see, because sometimes we get brats, little kids, playing these highly violent video games too. So there has to be a profanity filter on an M for mature game. I forgot. Stupid, right? Stupid me. You saw this for yourself, Joe, on your last video. You saw this for yourself when you played the beta, or the open beta, that there are certain words in there that are censored, and not words like fuck, or shit, or cunt, or anything. No. Words like white man. White man is censored, but not black man. Okay, so they censored white men, saying on how we're very sensitive times where Black Lives Matter movement is, well, it's there. Another one, DLC is also censored, but not if you put the word free in front of it. What is EA trying to cover up there after all the dozens of mistakes that they've made in past video games with loot box systems and a whole bunch of other expensive DLCs that weren't really worth a person's hard-earned cash? They're covering up for their own asses by censoring the word DLC. Now that seems to be a bad word too. Another word which I seem to find kind of redundantly censored, Nazi. The word Nazi has been censored in the in-game chat. I'm sorry, I thought that's what World War II had. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, am I historically wrong on this? I mean, wasn't World War II the United States and Allied forces against Nazis? I mean, what were we fighting then? Plants versus zombies, or leprechauns, or unicorn? What were we fighting then if it wasn't Nazis? That's stupid. That's another thing. Now you're being censored on speaking your mind and expressing yourself. Thank you very much, DE and DICE. Now you're trying to infringe on our First Amendment rights. Pushing the feminist politics by force. If you're not with us, you're against us kind of ideology. That's what I'm getting also from EA. If you're not with us, you're against us. Hence the if you don't like it, don't buy it. Okay, that also seems to be another fucking trend, because that's what it is there, Joe. It's a fucking trend. It's a fad, and it'll die off soon. Trust me on this one. It will. It seems to me like everybody still hasn't learned the lesson that when you do identity politics in the way that it has been pushed, the market is not successful. You don't create something and push identity politics to it and expect people to bend over backwards, being afraid of being labeled a sexist, to purchase this crap. Nobody's gonna buy into that stuff, Joe. Nobody. The mechanics of the video game, with what I saw in your last video, are also shit. Gun parts being locked behind currency, when it used to be, depending on the gun's leveling or experience in it, that's when you would unlock more parts, but now it's locked behind currency. Kind of like they did on Battlefront when they removed the loot box system, and now they wanted to do it behind a currency, which I guarantee you is going to be incredibly difficult to obtain, because people have to put hours and hours grinding for a red dot sight or some sort of accessory to a gun that, by comparison to today's weapons, wasn't really that big of a deal. People used iron sights back in those days, and the only few weapons that had scopes were sniper rifles. You also complained about how people mobbed you on your channel with the comments that they left behind. Can you blame them, really, for mobbing you? I bet you anything that the majority of the people that mobbed you used to be subscribed to you. I bet you anything. That's why your numbers fell. You will never be as big as PewDiePie, let's be honest. You will never be as big as him. And he did some serious, well, according to the Triggered, some serious messed up shit by using the N-word. Or even watching a Nazi documentary. Nothing to do, taken out of context, like always. But hey, you know what? He still has 62 million. He's actually the biggest YouTuber in history. But he manned up and he took responsibility for what he said, and his channel's as big as it's always been. Maybe you could take a couple of lessons from him there, Joe. You go on one other video apologizing in a way, because it wasn't really I'm sorry for accusing everybody of being this. It was more like a my bad, like I said before. And quite frankly, that's kind of a cowardly way of doing things, man. You're a fucking coward. Oh, it's because I said some things, but you know, oh well, oops, spilled milk, right? No, you labeled people. You're alienating viewers. So don't bitch and complain about anybody leaving any hateful comments or anything, because that's what you're gonna get. That's what you're gonna get. So, in a way, also, do I celebrate the downfall of Battlefield 5? Yes, I do. I celebrate it. And I would scream on the top of my lungs on the highest mountain, hooray, EA is losing. I would. For a number of reasons. Not just, because there's women in it. No. But because I think it's time that EA actually, they pay for all the mistakes that they've made. Also, that being on how they don't really care about the consumer. I think it's time that EA starts learning a lesson here and respecting the clientele. And by Battlefield 5 failing, that's a perfect way of doing it. Maybe they'll actually learn a lesson this time and not bend over backwards for identity politics or the feminist movement. Here's another one, and this is going to be my last point. And make sure you answer this for me, Joe. Or anybody else who thinks that they're so smart that they actually want to go ahead and challenge me on this one. When Battlefield 1 came out, EA, in a way, said that they were gonna restart the franchise to the Battlefield franchise. They were gonna restart it with Battlefield 1, which is based on World War 1, which is why it's called Battlefield 1, because they're starting from square one. How do you go from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5? How do you go from Battlefield 1 on World War 1 to Battlefield 5 on World War 2? The numbers don't match up there, Joe. Don't you think? I mean, you think it's coincidence? Okay, coincidence that the game Battlefield V pushes the feminist agenda and people are calling it Battlefield Vagina, which is in their right to call it that, because it's too much coincidence that a feminist pushed agenda game would be called Battlefield 5 but actually Battlefield V. Now, what's the excuse for that? What legitimacy do they have to say? It's because it is Battlefield 5. The V is Roman numeral 5, in case you don't know your Roman numerals or there, Joe. V is vagina. Unless they want, here's the thing, unless they want to call it Battlefield Victory. But, I mean, why would they call it that? Is it an expansion from Battlefield 1? And if so, then why didn't they just base it on World War 1? It's kind of weird, isn't it? Don't you think? It's kind of like one of those, kind of moments. Don't you think? Like, Battlefield Victory. Even though it's in Nazi Germany, it's based on World War II. Okay. That doesn't make sense. Or, if they really did mean Battlefield 5, what happened to Battlefield 2? Battlefield 3? Battlefield 4? What happened to those? I mean, did I wake up from some sort of weird coma, or did I step into the Twilight Zone? Or am I in the outer limits? Am I in a bizarro land where numbers don't match up? I mean, shouldn't this one have been called Battlefield 2? Answer me that one, Joe. Hey, you know what? I'm open to your opinion. Answer that. How do you go from World War 1, Battlefield 1, to World War 2, Battlefield 5? Answer that one. I want to see. I want to see how clever you really are. I want to see how clever you really are. How do you go from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5? How? There were no in-between Battlefield games from after Battlefield 1. There were no in-betweens. Or unless DLCs also count as sequels now. Because if they do, wow, the terminology is changing ever so frequently when it comes to video games. Because I'd like to know, how do you go from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5? Answer that one, Joe. Just answer it. I want to know. I'm open to your opinion. I'm open to it. I'm not going to censor you. I'm not going to shut you up. I really want you to tell me, how do you go from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5? Because reasons? It went from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5 because reasons. Wow, that's great ideology right there. That's perfect. Wow, that's an explanation beyond explanations. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now with this Battlefield V situation, this controversy behind it. The people not wanting to buy it because now they're being labeled sexists and all this other mumbo jumbo bullshit, this hibbity bibbity crap. But this is just me ranting. It's my opinion, no one else's. Not conservative, not alt-right, nobody. This is my opinion and my opinion alone. It's my concern on why it is that this just keeps happening. I'm so tired of it. I'm exhausted from all this identity politics bullshit, feminist movement agendas. I'm so sick and tired of it. And the cool thing is that I don't have to deal with it. Cool thing is that I don't have to do anything but let my wallet do the talking for me. The almighty dollar can speak for me. But I don't appreciate assholes like you, Angry Joe, accusing me of being a sexist when you have absolutely no proof whatsoever. I dare you to prove that I'm a sexist. Prove to me that I'm a sexist. Prove it to me. I can invite you into my home right now, and you can see my huge collection of movies, and a lot of them have female protagonists in, and I've never said a word over it. I've never had a complaint over them. I've never protested them. On the contrary, I love my movies. And I have no problem with female protagonists on anything. But this really is an issue here. Because it's not just the inaccuracy, but it's also the disrespect that EA has shown everybody. Okay? You start off with an argument, and people are going to start noticing why it is all of a sudden that you're so defensive. So, that was my video for today. It's my opinion alone. Like I said, I'm not representing any group or any organization. That's my opinion, and it's my First Amendment right to express my opinion, my thoughts, and you know, just say what I'm thinking. But until then, the next video comes up, which there will be another video. Might be another follow-up to this one, depending on if Angry Joe decides to, you know, make me famous by passive-aggressively tweeting about me like he has about several other YouTubers that don't agree with him. But like I said, until the next video, this hope you liked it. Leave a comment, share, like, subscribe. If you want to leave an angry comment, go ahead and do so. This is still a free country. You know, I'm not going to infringe on your First Amendment right. If you don't agree with me, it's fine. I'm okay with that. You want to be abusive? Go ahead. They're just words. Don't mean anything to me, to be honest with you. If you want to say, fuck you, you're this, you're that, fine, I don't care. I don't care about what you say. But, oh well. Until then, this has been your friendly friend, Andy Gamer Chanel, non-sexist, signing off, my friends.